his dancing in rehearsals, he would do it for hours and hours and hours until he got it right.
Yeah. I mean, his knees must have been shot by the end.
Yeah, fucking hell.
He must have been shot by the end. I mean, do you think he would have? I know, obviously, there's all different types of conspiracy theories and whatnot, but do you think he would have made it through that tour, that last tour, that This Is It tour?
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that'll do.
Well, that would do. That was perfect.
I think so.
Yeah. So, Michael, obviously, we went to see the movie,
Yep.
the biography, the one that's being talked about quite a lot. And it was an interesting biography because obviously it's tracks him from his sort of early years up until 1988.
Yep.
So it's all the sort of significant years to do with his music. So what do you think? What's your assessment of that movie?
Before I say anything, I really want to hear your take first because I love
My
it when
take.
because the thing what I love is like you come straight out the bat, right?
Yeah.
And I just like riffing off that rather than me come first. So
okay. All right. Well, I think this movie, right, it's in two camps, yeah. So I think if you're wanting this movie to be a deep dive into the complexities of Michael and his character and all the allegations of what he did or did not do and the court case and all the nitty-gritty and all the dirt, you're going to be disappointed. It's not that. If you want a movie that is basically a Spotify playlist of all of his hits sort of strung together loosely with a bit of a caricature in some ways, but also there are some really good bits in it as well. I think you'd be pleasantly sort of pleased and surprised, really. So I think for me, I look at it as in two camps, and I think I ask myself a question: did I enjoy it or didn't I enjoy it? Basically, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was an entertaining piece of work. I think if you can not look at the elephant in the room and look at all the stuff around it, I think you'd be all right. I think you think, yeah, this is actually a good piece of art. I think because I was a fan of his music, like I've always said, I was a fan of his music. You can allow yourself to be lost in the music and him sort of showing you the story of how he wrote those songs, how he came up with the dance routines, what sort of inspired him, what influenced him. You can get caught up in that.
what is the elephant in the room that we're talking about?
Well, the allegations. Yeah.
But here's the
That's
thing.
the elephant. Of course it is. That's the elephant in the room because obviously I know it goes up to 1988,
but they did address it. But this is the thing. They did address it and they actually shot that whole third section, the third part, which was the final act. And apparently it was supposed to be bookended by him in Neverland in 1993, him looking out the window and then seeing all these FBI agents turning up to his house. And then it showed him getting arrested, getting strip searched. And then the case about how the family tried to take advantage of him and exploit him. So the problem was they actually shot all of that stuff. And that's when the Michael Jackson estate looked at the film. I think it was a film, or they realized at that point that there was some kind of stipulation in the contract or the whatever it was, the agreement that they made with Jordan Chandler's family, which was never to mention him again. They weren't allowed to talk about him, which meant that they had to go back, spend $15 million and spend 22 days rewriting and refilming the whole third act, the final act. So they actually did film that and they did address it on their terms. And part of the other issue is that they would have been open for criticism, maybe even legal action, because they were showing it from a one-sided point of view, which in my mind, what would you expect? Because if it's a biopic and you're telling someone's point of view or someone's story, like if I'm telling your story, I'm not going to show you the other person, the antagonist, who they consider the antagonist, their point of view, am I? Because this is your biopic, this is your story. But they wanted to be careful, and they just didn't want to be open for potential lawsuits. So I think they just scrapped the whole idea and just rewrote it and reshot the whole film, the third act, and it ended up being a celebration. And as you call it, a Spotify playlist.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably better for it, to be fair,
Yeah.
because I was thinking about this the other day. So the feeling that I walked away from it was, oh yeah, Michael was good, wasn't he? You know what I mean?
It was
I
good.
remember how good, because everything got cloudy. Obviously we get older, you get more cynical, and you get more aware of what's going on in the world and all the nasty stuff that goes on. But when you're a kid, and especially when you love Michael Jackson music, it was just about the music. It was always just about the music. And I think as you get older, you just, because of all the stuff, you just start to forget, you know.
Yeah.
And like I've liked in the last sort of few weeks how everything keeps coming up online and stuff of old performances.
Yeah, you know
And
what?
you think, wow, man, he was really, really good. You know what I mean? Like
I've been watching
stuff was
bits
just,
of,
yeah,
you know, the Victory tour
yeah.
and the Bad tour as well. It's just been popping up, like you said. And yeah, you're right.
Honestly think they should release that in the cinema. You know, the actual real tour.
Yeah.
When like a 1988 tour, I think they should release that, because I've watched it a few times. And what actually I was saying to you, it's like so when I was growing up and remembering Michael Jackson, I never saw him live, but I've always saw the videos, and I've always sort of seen like the finished, polished product. And it was always like, you know, dancing, and you got the blacking dancers and the choreography and all the glamour and glitz and everything else. But
Yeah.
when you actually see the live show, it's pretty much sort of like 90%, 95% him singing, as in it's his voice. Which, when you compare that to a lot of modern artists in that similar genre now, you know, like pop artists in that genre now, they've got a lot of things to back them up, haven't they? You know, you got all the you know, the choreography and everything. Like I just said, they've got a lot of things to sort of back it up. But I think you forget the guy's voice was solid, and he was actually, you know, when you see him do it, yeah, he's doing a few dance routines and he's doing a few, but it's not a lot. It's mainly for, like, I think Bad, he did a few dance routines in there.
Yeah.
And a couple of others, but a lot of times it's just him freestyling, doing his freestyle movements, and then but singing. You know what I mean? And it's just a lot of strong vocal performances, really. So that's been good to see, and it's been good to see some of the individual performances that he did. That you think, yeah, you know, he was solid. He was in at his peak. You know, maybe, you know, near the end, obviously, like every artist, they get older and they get a little bit become a bit of a cliche of themselves. Especially when you're a big famous artist, you become a bit of a cliche of yourself, because everybody's sort of parodied you, and you know, you become sort of not laughed at, but I think it was tainted, obviously, with a lot of stuff that went on. But I
Yeah.
think in the 80s, you know, I watched that performance again when he did Billie Jean for the first time. It's a great performance. It was raw. It was raw, but also polished as well, if you know what I mean. Because it's just,
So would you
it reminds
say
me of him.
that watching the film has made you go back and re-look and re-watch all the performances that were in the film, so you can see the
I've
original
done that.
versions?
I've done
Yeah.
that a couple of times. I definitely wanted to go and see it, because I thought, like I was saying, Jaafar, I thought he did very, very well. I think he
Yeah, it
did
was
very,
excellent.
very well. Yeah, did very, very well. And I know, well, I'm not really into awards and stuff, because I think it's all a little bit subjective. But you know, if I was to give an award, I would be looking at giving him something, because I think to take on one of the most talked about iconic type people in music and sort of pop culture, and to sort of try and nail it the way that he did. And I don't think he had a huge amount to play with in terms of scripts from an actor's point of view. I think, because I thought about this as well, like, because it wasn't a deep dive. It was more on the surface. You know, they gave you the stuff that happened when he was young, getting abused by his dad, but that was, again, it was surface deep,
Yeah.
because we know that it was meant to be a lot worse than that. But obviously they want to keep it a PG or a 12 or whatever. So it was probably a PG, wasn't it? So it's kind of surface deep. And then when he sort of became Michael later on, it was just you don't get to the nitty gritty of the complexity of the character. It's almost like he's like the second coming of music, isn't he? You know, that he sort of plays it in a very, very, because I think that's what script is really, that they wanted him to be a bit watered down, almost like untouchable. You know, there was no darkness to him, because every human being has got darkness. Every human being is flawed. That, you know, there wasn't much about that with him. It was very much just I'm childlike, but I'm also quite ruthless when it comes to business. But I'm very childlike.
But
mainly,
this is the thing,
you know what I
right?
mean?
Yeah, but this is the thing is, were you saying it was on the surface? I totally agree with you. It was completely on the surface, completely shallow on that level. I do think that Jaafar deserves recognition, but unfortunately you won't, because the critics panned it. But fuck what they think, because the audiences loved it. My issue is, like, having watched the film and then going into like a rabbit hole of like his life and watching videos and all. So in that respect, it's done its job, because the both of us, we've ended up re-listening to all the music again and watching all these performances that he did that are connected with the film, and beyond that as well, just to see the brilliance of him. The problem that I've got is he wasn't as clean or cookie cutter as the film makes him out to be. And where you're talking about being, yeah, he was childlike, which I think that he might even be on the spectrum, but we could talk about that later. But there's like him being a shrewd businessman. They only touch on it to say how brilliant of a businessman he was, but he was also cutthroat as well. So I watched this video on this old Howard Stern video where he was interviewing Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney tells a story about how he met Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson just called him up on his house phone out of the blue and told him that he wanted to make hits. So then they started discussing making music and potentially collaborating, which they eventually did on the Thriller album. But then at the end of it, Michael Jackson apparently asked Paul McCartney, said, like, what other advice would you give me? And then Paul McCartney said, well, if I was going to give you any advice, I would say, you know, own your music and talk to him, explain to him about publishing, and owning your publishing, and everything like that. And he apparently said, for a joke, he goes, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'll buy yours, as a joke. That's what Paul McCartney thought. But then he ended up spending $45 million acquiring the ATV publishing, which included the Beatles' back catalogue, which Paul McCartney was kind of taken aback by, because he didn't think Michael Jackson would do that. And then like years later, he did contact Michael Jackson and said, look, I know you're making money, but maybe you want to increase our pay from this, because we were the writers and all that. And maybe you could increase what we should earn from this. And Michael Jackson just turned around and said, it's business. And
He did say that, mate.
yeah, he did say that. And there's a video, maybe I haven't got it exactly right, but if you watch, there's a video on YouTube, Howard Stern interview with Paul McCartney, where he explains all of that. So it says, and he said, he goes, yeah, you know what, we were friends, and then later on we weren't, not so much friends. Like, that's what he said. So these are the things that you could have talked about. These are the things that you could have touched on, where it could have been almost like, you know, like Michael Corleone, Godfather, where you see like the good in him, but also he could be ruthless. He could do this. He could do that.
That would have been a more interesting movie.
But it doesn't.
This is like I said, it's a Spotify playlist with a little bit.
And it doesn't elevate the myth of Michael Jackson, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't. No, I mean,
if you knew that he'd do that to his friends,
that's the thing that I think was a little bit. Sorry, cut you, but that's the thing I think was a little bit sort of back to front. So there's a few scenes that is the way they probably edited it, but there's a few scenes where obviously they filmed over a period of time. It's like he's playing it really, really childlike, really, really childlike. Then all of a sudden it just cuts to him being in the room with his shades on, and that lawyer's there, and he's like, all of a sudden he's bossing the whole room, and he's like super, super businesslike.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really like a transition to that. And then the next minute he's in the shop and he's playing with a little, I don't know, it looks like he's playing the nails and stuff, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like being a kid again, sort of thing. So there wasn't that level of transition, or there wasn't that. Who was he really? Who was he really?
Yeah.
Because you got to imagine, his dad was obviously ruthless, and he probably learned a lot from his dad. As much as that relationship was not great. Well, that's what we were told anyway. That relationship wasn't great, but he clearly learned a lot from his dad.
Yeah.
And he was still in touch with his dad. And as we see, even pictures much later on, nearer to the last few years of his life, he's still pictured with his dad and his mum. You know what I mean?
Which raises a question.
Yeah.
And I'm only playing devil's advocate here. Was Joe Jackson really that much of a bad guy?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. We weren't there, right? We weren't there. And what they say, pressure makes diamonds, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But we weren't there, so we don't know what the level of the so-called abuse was, and we don't know how that impacted him. And like I said, I was having this debate the other day. You can have two people, siblings brought up in the same house, get the same level of punishment. One becomes very much affected in a negative way, and another one, it doesn't affect them, or affects them in a more positive way, right? You can go through a similar sort of experience, and you become whatever you become. It's very difficult to then say, well, if it wasn't for Joe, he wouldn't be, the Michael Jackson he became.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could probably argue the other case and say, well, actually, without Joe's input early on, he wouldn't have maybe got the bug for it or the discipline to try and be better. But we wouldn't know. We wouldn't know, because the only way you'd know is to have the same individuals on two separate timelines doing different things and then seeing what the outcome is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what is probably you can say is that, like with all of us, you're shaped by your environment, aren't you? And you're shaped by everything that sort of influences you within it. So on some level, those beatings and that discipline must have given him something. Whether it's positive or negative, it played out how it played out. He had body dysmorphia, didn't he? The guy did not like himself.
Yeah,
He wasn't comfortable in himself. And then the film kind of hints to his dad calling him Big Nose and all this stuff. And,
but the thing was, it wasn't just his dad that was doing it. It was apparently his brothers were, hurling abuse at him as well. So they don't touch on any of that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And I don't know how bad it was, because they didn't show it to be as bad, did they?
Yeah.
And I guess that they're weighing up. They want this to go global, and they want as many people to watch it. And obviously you need the kids to watch it as well. So if you made it a horrible 15, 18 movie, which they don't really do anymore, you'd have to show all the nasty stuff, wouldn't you? So, I think, what's love got to do with it? The Tina Turner movie, that's got to be like a 15 or an 18, because that was horrendous.
That might have been an 18 at the time.
It must have been, yeah.
It'd be 15 now, but at the time I think it was an 18.
I mean, I think it's one of the best biopics, and again, why would I say it's one of the best biopics? Maybe because it gave us a lot of the darker stuff.
Yeah.
And I think whenever I watch something that's meant to be real about a real person, you want to know warts and all, don't you? And I think some of the scenes, I mean, I don't even know if they'd film that now in that way, but some of those scenes were horrendous, weren't they?
Yeah.
They actually showed it, some of the horrible stuff that happened to her on screen. So if you were to do that with Michael, it probably wouldn't be able to go as global as it has and be as successful as it has. So that they have to water everything down, don't they? They have to keep it a bit soft.
And right now, as we speak, it's the biggest opening for a biopic ever. It's become a worldwide phenomenon, and it's looking, well, the studio is predicting it to make $1 billion.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Even in his death, the estate have managed to monetize him and make a lot of money out of it.
The crazy thing is that they've made more money out of him in his death than they did when he was alive. He was $500 million in debt, and since he died, they've made, I think, like $3 billion. But don't hold me to that. But I'm sure I read somewhere it was like $3 billion.
And I do wonder. I mean, maybe it's all the stars aligning, but I do wonder that making it a celebration movie actually was probably the best thing they could have done.
Yeah.
Because if they put the court case stuff in it and the accusation stuff, it would have been a very, very different movie. You'd come away with a very, very different feeling. It would have overshadowed the music and everything else. So I think them taking that out, that very smart lawyer that found the clause and whatever agreement it was, them taking that out, it was a £50 million well spent, wasn't it? Because
15
it's
million.
now, 15, because now it's actually become a celebration of the man's music up to his peak, you know.
Yeah.
And it's more him, a story of an individual artist trying to break out from being sort of held back and trying to become his own thing. That's kind of like the story, isn't it? That's kind of like the arc.
That is it. In its essence, is about a guy who's trying to come out of the shadow of his father and make his own path and make it his own way and become the man he's kind of destined to be.
Yeah, yes, but that's it. That's the arc, isn't it? And
they simplified it just to tell that story, because throughout the whole thing, there's so many things that now that I've been reading up on it, there's so many things that they left out that in itself could have been its own movie. Things like the Victory Tour, how that was managed, how that was done, and how the mafia or gangsters were involved in the promotion of it all, and they were promoters as well. That's one story. Then the story about how he met Quincy Jones through making The Wiz.
They left the whole Wiz thing out.
They didn't even touch any of that shit.
Yeah.
And like the only thing they showed of that whole Wiz bit is like a few seconds of him entering the Studio 54. But they made that out that he was entering Studio 54 because of the success of the Off the Wall album. When it had nothing to do with that. It was just he was in New York at the time filming The Wiz. And that's where he met Quincy Jones. Or even like the making of the Thriller album. They don't even talk about why he made the Thriller album and the choices that he made with the artists that were in it, like Paul McCartney or with it Van Halen is in it as well.
Yeah.
Because he lost the Grammy for Off the Wall, and he was so pissed off.
Lost it to Prince, didn't he?
For Off the Wall.
Was it Off the Wall? No, I thought there was one where he lost out to Prince. He came second to Prince or something like that.
Let me have a look at this. Fucking Prince.
Or was it a case of that he just lost and Prince was happy? It was something like that.
Yeah, Prince was happy because it was about it was bad. The Bad album. It was at the Grammys and he lost, and then it cuts to Prince just looking like this.
Yeah, because they hinted that, didn't they? There's a line in there saying, "Oh, I need to channel this music, or God might give it to Prince."
Yeah,
there was a little hint, wasn't there? I remember that line. I thought, "Oh no, yeah."
He was jealous of Prince, but then Prince didn't really like Michael Jackson either. Even though they're
well, they're both elite creative people, aren't they? So it's understandable.
I mean, Michael Jackson wanted Prince to collaborate with him on the Bad track, and Quincy Jones reached out to Prince, and Prince just shot it down straight away.
Yeah, like I said, man, I'm always going to big up Prince.
Yeah,
but I accept that Michael Jackson was probably more culturally significant with some of his stuff. I accept that. But,
so he lost the Off the Wall album.
Yeah.
So they should have Quincy should have had a bigger role in it, and even Berry Gordy should have had a bigger role in it. But Quincy, without Off the Wall, there'd be no Thriller, and the fact that Off the Wall lost out at the Grammys, and it caused Michael Jackson to turn around and say he wanted to make like the broadest album that he could reach everyone. How do they do that? And look, what artists do they use and what musicians and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they sort of talked about it, didn't they? Because he was just walking around in his living room talking to his lawyer, that new lawyer, the one with the long hair.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I want to be the biggest pop star in the world, and I want this and I want that. And he goes, yes, Michael, you know what I mean? And he was just sort of walking around saying, they'll say, but he didn't show the motivation for that.
That's the thing. Didn't show the motivation.
Like, I want to be the biggest thing in the world, because it's almost like the motivation was, I'm breaking away from my dad and I'm breaking away from the Jackson 5 or the Jacksons, and I want to be this big thing. And then he sort of just walked away, which I thought was interesting. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but the way he wrote them songs was from his head, because he wasn't a He didn't play an instrument. You know, it was all in his head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he'd just walk around singing melodies and hooks and lines and melody lines and all that, which you can do. You know, there's no rules on how you make music. But I found that interesting. It's like, okay, so he just locked himself away, and but I wonder how true that was in terms of the collaboration stuff, because you might have a hook line or a melody line, but when you get into the studio, you've got to have a musician who's going to start put some chords together.
Yeah.
And from those chords, another melody line comes, and then they might make a suggestion and all that. So I just wonder, and obviously it's kind of ugly making music. It's all a bit messy.
Yeah.
Like art is until you get the finished thing, and it's like, oh, okay, let's do it. And oh yeah, that's another thing I was reading, which I found really interesting. I saved it somewhere. So basically, was it the Off the Wall album or was it the Thriller album? It might have been the Off the Wall album. Well, Quincy was a massive perfectionist, and it got to the point where he was remixing the album over and over and over again, to the point where the speakers blew and it
That was
caught
it.
fire. There was musicians that were taken to hospital and stuff. I think they looked at, supposedly they looked at something like 700 songs, and they whittled it down to like 12 songs, and then from that 12 songs they whittled it down to something like 10 songs. I think it is, because I think that is the Off the Wall album's got like 10 songs, something like that.
Let me have a look.
Have a look at how many songs is on the album, because it's like a really interesting story basically about how artists chase perfection. And it got to the point where even Michael was so worn down from doing it over and over and over again. He said, I don't know what else more we can do. And then it was Quincy that then did the sort of final mix. And I think already the Girl Is Mine was already out. It must be Off the Wall.
No, Girl Is Mine is from Thriller.
It must be Thriller then, yeah. So the Girl Is Mine was already out, because he wasn't even happy with that. But he wanted to change it, but it was already getting played on radio. So they had to cut down, because there's another version of Thriller where there's a really big long intro.
So there's
and they had
10.
to cut that down.
There's 10 in Off the Wall.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul McCartney's on the Girlfriend. I mean, on the
Girl Is Mine. Yeah.
No. Paul McCartney did a track with Michael. No,
What's
he
it
was
called?
a writer on the
I
Off
thought
the
you did
Wall.
Girl Is Mine, isn't it? The Girl Is Mine.
This is I'm talking about on the Off the Wall album. Paul McCartney
which one
wrote
was
a
it?
track for him called Girlfriend.
Oh, okay, Girlfriend. Okay. But yeah, so basically they went through hell and back on that Thriller album.
Yeah.
To get it the way they wanted it to sound. I think even Van Halen was a bit of a random one, because I think he was supposedly in the studio next door or something, and they just pulled him in and said, "Can you reckon you can put something on this?" Because they wanted that sort of like rocky element.
Yeah.
And he thought they were taking the mick. They thought they were taking the mick, and they thought, all right, we'll sort of lay something down. Supposedly the story goes, but yeah, it's interesting. I find that sort of stuff really interesting, because that in itself could be a film. You know what I mean?
This is the thing, right? So
like how you make an amazing piece of art. That in itself, like all the dramas of the studio, the things breaking down and the song's not being right, it's not
the
ready
frustration,
yet.
not thinking that
frustration. Michael tired and getting worn down, not thinking he's going to be able to get his album on time and all that. I just think it's great. It's some rock guy in another studio. Can you come and put this? That becomes like a classic part of the song. You know what I mean? And
yeah, but don't you think then
the
film is appealing to you because you're a musician, right?
Yeah,
just as much as
like
the film would be appealing to me because I'm a creative and I want to see the creative process, and I like filmmaking.
Yeah.
Like when you watch films about filmmaking, I love that stuff. But I don't think the general public or the mainstream audience likes that stuff.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You can't please everybody, can you? You can't please everybody, and you have to make a creative decision.
And so it worked on the broad sense. It's worked because
they made the right one. They made the right one. I think that the highlight for me was when he was in the studio, and you got Quincy there, and he's saying, "Yeah, come on, then let's do it." And he starts doing "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough."
That to me, I was buzzing.
And then he turns the faders up and stuff, and like they do the montage stuff, and they sort of link, and you get
when it cuts to him making the video, from him recording the track to making the video, and then it pulls back, and then you see the actual video behind the monitor.
Video. I thought it was
that
genius.
Whole sequence to me,
that was really good.
I was fucking buzzing from that bit
because I love that song. I love that song. I think that song's like, it's a genius song. the way he's doing falsetto and the way he's sort of like then doing that sort of lower baritone sort of thing coming in, and it's a great song. It's a great song. I don't know how you can play that song in a club and not want to dance. You know, it's one of them sort of songs. So to sort of show how it was kind of made, and you know, you can see Quincy like buzzing when he's thinking, and Michael's just doing this thing, and you think this is different. Like, what is this? Like, what is this? You know what I mean? And he's just like, yeah, turn it up, turn it up. You know, give him more feel, give him more feel. You know what I mean? That's great. That's great. It reminded me as well of what's that film, Hustle and Flow.
Yeah.
Hustle and Flow, when they're making the beat for the first time, and you got, you know, they're all there, and Matey Boy's on the keyboard, he starts doing the beat, and then he starts rapping, and then everyone's just going hype and all that. Because I've been there before, where it's just like, you know, it comes out of nowhere, and it's almost like it's coming from somewhere, and you kind of think, this is like awesome, man. You know what I mean? It's
when
great.
you're in a studio and then
when
everything
you're in
just comes
studio
together.
and you don't know what you're gonna make, and all of a sudden there's a beat, and then someone comes up with something, and then someone comes up with a melody line, and then before you know it, you're making a song, and it's like you're in it. You're like, you're part of it. It's a strange feeling, creativity like that, because it's so spontaneous. And it must be the same for, like, you know, when you're filming a scene or whatever, and you can imagine it, you know, you got the actors, and, you know, they're already rehearsed and everything else, but something's happening, you know, one of the actors does something that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
But you just keep the camera rolling, and you're saying, yeah, just go with this. And you get this amazing scene. I think that's that feeling of just spontaneity, and you kind of think, this has come from somewhere else. And I think they captured that really well. Definitely in Hustle and Flow, they captured that really well. And I think they captured it really well in that scene, you know, when he's in the studio. It was yeah, it was great. I think anyone who's sort of been around music and made music and stuff will get that, because it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember that feeling. You know, you don't know how it's gonna go. You got an idea, but you don't know how it's gonna go, and then like something amazing happens. So yeah, I thought they captured that really well. So that's what, and I thought as well, is it Domingo? His name is
Coleman Domingo.
Coleman Domingo. What an actor! Very, very good actor. Because it wasn't.
Do you think it was caricatured, or do you think it was actually layered?
I think it was layered. I think I don't read critics stuff because I'm not interested. I think that there's always an agenda with critics, and I think there's very few critics. Yeah, maybe a couple, but there's very few critics, I think, who are coming from a genuine place of, this is what I feel or what I felt. I think there's always an agenda with.
No, the reason why I'm asking that is
you're writing. So,
but the reason why I'm asking that is not so much of the critics side, because they have said the same thing. But I agree with you. I think I believed it. I thought he came across as a bit of a monster. But at the same time, he came across as a monster. But the caricature part, I think, was Joe Jackson really as monstrous as that, or was the point of it to make him caricatured? They hit the beats for a mainstream audience.
It wasn't sympathetic to him. It wasn't, but I've read a little bit about it, and I think this is from the kids' point of view, isn't it? So Jermaine would have been involved in this, Jermaine Jackson and stuff, and I think it's from their point of view about their dad.
Yeah,
and he so supposedly he had a love child with someone else, and he allowed his love child to call him daddy. You know what I mean, like dad. But the sons, they had to call him Joe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like it was a business type relationship. You know, I'm Joe, and there was no sort of like warmth or connection with them. So I think they wrote him how they remembered him.
Yeah.
You know, in that how it was back then. Like, it was very much, this is business, and you're here to advance the families and make our wealth and all that sort of stuff.
So you're saying that you saw it, what you're seeing isn't a caricature, but it's seen through the eyes of what the kids would have seen.
Yeah, I think it's seen through the eyes, because it's not Joe's story, is it?
Yeah,
it's Michael's story, but obviously Michael's dead, so it's not even Michael's story. It's his, whoever was involved in it, and I think Jermaine was one of the leads on it. It would have been their idea of what they think Michael experienced. Obviously, they've been kind to themselves, like they always do, but I think it's their idea of what their dad was at that time as well. So they weren't sympathetic to him. But, you know, I think Domingo, because he's such a great actor, I think he and even though he's in prosthetics and you know he's all sort of made up and he does look a little bit monstrous, I think he tried his best to put some sympathy in there.
Yeah.
You know, the man was from, you know, what was it? It would have been probably the 1940s, 1950s, like poor black America.
1930s, 1940s, 1930s
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
You know, probably poor, dirt, broke black America he's brought up in. You know, when you're coming from that ingrains in your spirit, your soul, you know, that you're
Yeah.
meant to be nothing, you know, to achieve, especially in America, one of the toughest places to ever, you know, be successful in. And then in them days, you have a lot of kids. So, you know, he gets his missus and they have a small house and they have a lot of children because there's a whole heap of Michaels, a whole heap of Jacksons, isn't there?
Can you name?
Like,
I'm gonna test you because I've got a list here. Where's it gone?
let me have a look. Well,
No, you can't look. You can't look. You have to guess.
No, okay. So I think you've got Janet. You got Latoya. You got Michael. You got Jackie. You got Tito. I think there's someone called Rebby or Remy.
Rebby.
So we're already on 6, and I know there's like another 3 brothers.
Go on.
I don't know their names. I've said Jermaine, haven't I? I said Jermaine.
Did you say? Yeah, I'm sure you said Jermaine.
So
no,
Jackie,
you didn't say Jermaine. So let's go with
so
Jermaine.
Jermaine's at 7. I don't know what the other 2 are.
The other 2 are. So I'll give them to you in order.
Yeah.
Rebby, Jackson, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Latoya, Marlon, Michael, Randy, and Janet. So I think you missed
Marlon and Randy.
Yeah.
Marlon and Randy. That's what I missed.
But
Marlon
there was
Randy.
a Brandon Jackson who was the twin of Marlon Jackson, but died at birth.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, so there would have been 10.
So there's a whole heap of them, isn't it? And they were supposedly living in a small 2-bedroom house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's there working his hard job.
Yeah.
And he's just grafting, but his kids are musical because he didn't come from a musical family. Joe wasn't musical. It was just it's the kids. They're all like dancing around. So imagine the vibrancy in the house and the kids all singing. And you got James Brown on the TV, and then you got this little Michael. He's probably like a bit ADHD. Probably he's got like super energetic kid.
Yeah,
and he's just like loving his singing and all that. And he probably thought, wait a minute, these guys could actually be something. There could be something here, you know. And then he probably thought, yeah, I'm gonna try and see if I can make this happen. So that's a really, really sort of, I don't know what the word is, but it's like almost like an insane thing, isn't it? To say like, we're not from a musical family. I don't have a lineage of musical people, but I've got my children, and my children are all singing and dancing. I'm gonna make them into stars.
Yeah.
And I just work in a factory, and I've got no history in the music business. You know, that's an insane thing. You know what I mean? So. But, you know, they weren't sympathetic to that point of view. It was just very much work. But I'd like to have seen a scene of him going to work and getting, abuse and all the shit and all the crap. And, you know, I mean, understand Joe's point of view a little bit more.
Yeah, because there was a TV movie back in 1992 called The Jacksons and an American Dream. It was a 2-parter. I remember it came out the year after on ITV. Angela Bassett plays the mum.
Yeah.
And I remember it being really good because it went into detail of all the brothers and sisters and the family and everything, and it even touches on the Jehovah's Witness stuff and everything that they don't show in the movie. I think from what I can remember, it was like 33 years ago. They touched on in the TV movie, and it's available on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Okay.
Someone uploaded it, but yeah, you're right. I do think. I don't know whether we want to watch a film about Joe Jackson grafting and putting his kids to work.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. A movie has to be a movie, right? Where you know it's 2 hours or whatever, and you have to tell the arc of the main character. I think if you're going to tell that type of story, it needs to be a mini series.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing.
It needs to be a mini series. It needs to be like a 8-part, 10-part,
10-part
mini series.
10-part because
with
like
a whole episode on Joe. A whole episode on
Joe. There's so many things that they missed out as well that they could have talked about. One of the major things that they missed out on is, but I think it was deliberate, they actually filmed her, but they took it out, is Diana Ross, because she played a major factor in their career right from the beginning, even up until the point where Michael Jackson was in his 20s and 30s. I just heard some leaked phone footage of Michael Jackson talking about how much in love he was with Diana Ross. I don't know if it's true or not, this video, but I was listening
Were they
to.
dating? Did they date for a little bit?
I don't think they were dating. She kind of, from what he's saying, is that he was in love with her, and he gave everything he could. He bought houses and cars and everything that she wanted. But she was quite cold to him as well, even though she knew him from when he was a kid, and then he did the whiz with her and everything. And I think Dirty Diana is actually written about her.
All right.
And about him seeing her flirt with someone else. But they cut out her role in the movie. I don't know what the reason is why. I don't think it is a legal reason. I think it might have been to do with that third act. But they actually filmed it with Kat Graham. She played Diana Ross, but they to cut the whole thing out. But it's quite...
That's got to hurt, isn't it? That's got to hurt.
Yeah, that's got to hurt, yeah, because to find out as well that your whole part has been cut out.
Yeah, your whole part's been cut.
Yeah, it's just like shit. I think she posted on Instagram that telling everyone that she did film her scenes as Diana Ross, but it was all cut out. So there's that whole Diana Ross part. Then you got Berry Gordy. You only touch on it, but he was a major factor. He was like a second father to Michael Jackson.
Berry Gordy, the one that
Motown.
Oh, Motown. Yeah. I thought that was another really good scene when
with Lawrence Tate.
Yeah, Lawrence Tate. He's very, very good, isn't he? He's very good.
You know, for those two little scenes,
yeah,
he was fucking excellent. And that's the thing. It's just like, it's almost like you got everything that you needed to know about Berry Gordy and Michael Jackson and their relationship in that one scene.
Yeah, one scene. Yeah. And just the elation, like, again, it's music, isn't it? Where we've seen this kid, he's like, you know, the intensity, and he's seen this kid's amazing, and like he's so invested in him, but also the innocence of the kid, and obviously the dad coming in trying to be overpowering, and he's like, no, it's fine, you know, and it was all really well shot. There was some really good scenes in it. I think his whole sort of mannerisms as well. He's an accomplished actor now.
Yeah,
he's come a long way. He was getting into society as well. It's a different type of character, obviously, but now he's older. There's a certain less is more.
Gravitas.
You know, it's from some of these great actors. Like less is more. It's just it's certain movement, a certain look. It's all that stuff. You know, it was very, very good. It was very, very good.
I would have liked to have seen the story about how they broke up. You know, moved away from Motown.
What was that about? Yeah, because they went to Epic.
They went to Epic. They did a deal with Epic, but then Motown kept the name the Jackson 5, so then they had to rebrand themselves as the Jacksons. But then Jermaine stayed behind because Jermaine was married to Berry Gordy's daughter. And plus he said that the main reason he stayed behind is because he felt Motown gave everything to them and their whole life to them, and he was kind of indebted to Motown and Berry Gordy because of that. And it had nothing to do with, you know, being him trying to create his own solo career. He just thought it was the right thing to do, to stay behind.
So that's an whole other story itself, isn't it?
Exactly. That itself should be its own story about the Motown years and how they left.
The Motown years,
in between all of that, they had their own TV show. Don't know if they had their own cartoon.
Massive, yeah, they were like the Black Beatles, weren't they? They were like the
Osmonds.
Yeah,
that was the other thing. So in the Jackson's American Dream, I remember the main thing was that Joe Jackson kept like drumming into him, saying, "We're going to be the Osmonds. We're going to be better than the Osmonds," and that was the whole thing that was driving them, is to be better, be the Black Osmonds, and be better than the Osmonds.
Yeah, which again is an insane thing, you know, to be, like I said, to be Joe Jackson. He's got no history in music or no. You know, to be motivated enough and insane enough to believe that you can make your kids the next big thing in America, and he did. And yes, he did it in a very, very harsh way. He did it by the belt, supposedly, or worse. But you know, he did do it. So it's a fascinating story, and it's an American dream story, isn't it? It's an American dream story. You know, the rags to riches. That's what the American dream is, isn't it? You know, you can come there. Or you can start with absolutely dirt poor nothing, and you can have a dream when you work your socks off, and you just might get everything, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also an American tragedy, isn't it? Because you get everything and it can destroy you, and it can destroy your family, it can destroy you as a person, which it kind of did, you know. So that's sort of the circle of that story, really, which again is fascinating. They're a fascinating family, and I
Yeah, and
think
so watching the film made me look back and started to think about what you're saying about how being part of family and being destroyed by moving away from your families. You could even argue the case. You could read the film as the fact of a man who was, he may have been controlled by his family, but at the same time, the family was the unit. And the moment that he broke away from the family, it was a double-edged sword, because on one side, he became the biggest superstar on the planet. But on the other side, he just went down this other path of no return, where he was surrounded himself with yes men who wouldn't keep him in check. And maybe he needed to be part of his family to keep him in check. Maybe he wouldn't have been as famous, but he could have probably had a different lifestyle. Maybe one that he was
yeah,
probably yearning
I think
for.
that's fair. I think that's fair. There's that little hint in the line. I remember it with Joe, where he says he wants to go his own way or whatever, and Joe said, "No, you're going to do this tour." He says, "What is that? You're just going to leave, and you're going to be surrounded by yes people, and you
Yeah.
think that's going to be good for you." And obviously, it turned out not to be good for him.
Yeah. So the way they played that scene is just like, it's as if Joe Jackson is really jealous and cold-hearted about it. But
yeah,
looking back on it now, knowing everything that you know about Michael Jackson, was that kind of prophetic? Was it, the fact that Joe Jackson might have been right? But it's just the way that the scene played out in the film plays it a different way to maybe it could have or should have been.
yeah. I think there's definitely stuff about that, but it's interesting to me because obviously Michael was brought up with his brothers and everything, but why was he so babyfied? Like, why was it him that is just I don't want to grow up. I'm not interested in all the things that other boys are interested in or whatever. Because his brothers were brought up in the same thing. They were Jacksons, but yeah, they didn't. They played. They went out. They got girlfriends, whatever. So what was it? What was it about Michael? Was it coming from him, or was it maybe that everybody babyfied him and kept him in cotton wool?
So here's my
What was
theory.
it?
My theory is, after watching this, is only from watching the film and watching Jaafar Jackson's performance, I think he was on the spectrum. I think, like you said, he could have had ADHD. That's why his dad couldn't control him and beat him the most, and how he couldn't stand still, like tapping away.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, you're
And
right.
that's
'Cause I
why
didn't think about that.
the music was a way of, the dancing was a way of channeling the ADHD, right?
Yeah, the hyperactivity.
Yeah, and then the flip side to that is, I do think that he was on the spectrum. After watching the film, it kind of makes sense now. The way he saw the world, the way he interacted with other people, and how he couldn't really socialize with other people unless they were a certain person, like the kids or animals. And the way he spoke with adults was different to the way he spoke with kids. Almost like, you've seen it, you've interacted with kids or people on the spectrum. I have too, and it's very, very similar to what we saw in the film. So
that's a really interesting point of view. I
do
think
think
that's really interesting. Yeah,
that's why I think he had yes people around him, because he couldn't understand like nuances and stuff. He wanted it, and he's fixated. I want this. I don't want to hear why, or no, I want it. Just like some people who are autistic do. It's just like they can't understand why, they just want it. So when you're going to surround yourself with yes people who just see you as a cash cow, they're just going to do whatever you want.
And when you put in, obviously, his vitiligo and then body dysmorphia and all the probably post trauma and all that stuff as well.
Yeah,
it's a heavy mix, isn't it? It's a heavy mix that creates something. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting, because I was thinking, oh, wait a minute, he was brought up in the same house. His brothers went off and had, was fairly stable relationships and went out and about and stuff like that. So why was he so babyfied all the time, so kiddie, so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it makes sense. It makes sense because he was undiagnosed.
Because back then, no one would have I mean, we didn't. When did you find out about autism? I only found out through Rain Man,
Yeah.
watching that in the late. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
like the extreme version of autism. That wasn't even like the nuanced
Yeah,
version, like the
true, true.
lower
I
version.
so you find out through obviously my job and stuff back in
Yeah.
the day and everything else. So yeah, and also now it's just become more talked about, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
and also like mental health and everything else. But
Yeah.
it is
ADHD and
interesting.
everything is more
It
acceptable
is
now.
interesting because I think, yeah, you're right. I think maybe music was his way of you know, he found he could express himself through that, and he was very expressive with his dance, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, body and his movement and everything else. So that became, and it was always erratic, wasn't it? Constantly moving, constantly doing his little quirky moves and stuff like that. That became his signature. That but that was all part of it. You know what I mean? It's maybe a tick or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
And plus,
it's fascinating.
his dancing and rehearsals, he would do it for hours and hours and hours until he got it right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, his knees must have been shot by the end. You know,
Yeah. Fucking hell.
he must have been shot by the end. I mean, do you think he would have? Well, no, I know obviously there's all different types of conspiracy theories and whatnot, but do you think he would have made it through that tour, that last tour, that This Is It tour?
No.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I think what would have happened is he would have collapsed
Yeah,
from
yeah,
exhaustion, and then they would have had to defer the gigs to the following year
yeah,
for him to pay it back and do it again.
yeah. Because I mean, at that point, obviously, what was he 49, 50 when he around that
49,
sort of
50,
age?
going on 50, yeah. No, 50, he
Yeah,
was 50, yeah.
yeah, and he hadn't been out like dancing and stuff like that for a few years. So,
Yeah.
and you can't go to Michael Jackson gig without seeing him do the moonwalk. You can't go
Just
there without
imagine
seeing
if
him
you
do
went
it.
to a Michael Jackson gig and he just sat there on a stool.
Yeah, that's not a Michael Jackson gig, isn't it? You know what I mean? So even like Madonna's still doing, doing all. I know she wasn't like a dancer like Michael, but you expect it to be full on, don't you?
Yeah,
And even her, you know, I think she's in her 60s now. If she does a gig, she's still doing it full on. You know what I mean? Because that's what you
exactly.
expect. Because that's the type of gig. She's not a sit down. She's not Adele, is she? You know what I mean? It's not what Adele could be doing that till she's in her 80s and it's easy. You know what I mean? And stand up and sing.
Even
Nice.
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah. So they're different types of artists. But
Yeah.
when you're a pop artist where it's all, you know, movement, it must be tiring, man. You know, when you look at it really, it's a 2-hour gig and you're constantly on the move and you got to sing, you know, and you got to get the moves right. And that's a lot of work. I think, you know, you got to give people credit, those types of artists credit, because it's a lot of work. And Michael was on it. He was on it. But like I said, you know, from what I've seen with those tours, yes, he was moving and stuff, but his singing was on point. You know, it was a lot of, he was singing. He was a really good singer, really good singer, and it was live. It really was live. There was no auto tune. He wasn't using backing tracks. It was him singing, you know, and a live band playing. So it was a proper gig. It's gigs. So yeah, it was a great talent. It was a great talent to watch.
He was. But it to me, it's just, I look back on the film and I just feel like, yeah, I really liked it. I really found it entertaining, but I just keep thinking about all the scenes that they could have had, all the people that they could have had that they missed out. I mean, they didn't even have 3 of his siblings. They opted out. Randy Jackson, Reba,
Janet
and Janet Jackson. So, especially in the early 80s, Janet Jackson was coming into her own as well. She was starring in Fame, and then she started getting her album out as well. She played like a significant part of the whole Jackson.
Yeah, they want to be off it. But I think, I mean, I hope they don't do it. But they're talking about, there might be a sequel or whatever.
There is going to be a sequel. There is. You cannot, because I've been listening to interviews with the studio heads and all that. They're trying to figure it out. But at the moment, I think Antoine Fuqua's got another film that he's got on the go, but they are discussing ideas. But whatever they do, they have to discuss it. They have to acknowledge the case, and
they can't avoid it.
They can't avoid it.
So I don't know how they do that without, you know, breaking that agreement.
Well,
that was the first case, but there's other cases.
Yeah, so they could,
cases.
Yeah, so they could skip that case and go straight to the Gavin. What was his name? Gavin Aviso.
Yeah, probably the one where is always surrounded by the Muslim Brotherhood and all that, and he's on the car and he's
and
pale as anything, and maybe I don't know, but for me, it will be a very, very different movie, right? And it won't be a celebration anymore. Yeah,
No.
the feel good factor would be gone. You know, so this is what I think why it's such a hit, and I think people have gone to see it again and again.
People are
And
dancing in the cinemas.
I would watch. Yeah, I would watch it again because it's the music and
Yeah, same here.
the feel good and it's the discovery of his music, rediscovery of his music, and it's the moments where that track, oh yeah, that track. How did he do that track? Oh, the Thriller video. Oh yeah. Oh bad. He's fixed gang violence. Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's all this stuff. It's just like yeah, Michael, man. He was like the second coming of music, man. Like this, you know.
That scene,
like,
right? You know, where he fixes gang violence. Well, clearly he didn't because they were still killing each other afterwards, right? But for that moment in time, he fixed it, and apparently he used gang members in the Beat It video and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the way they presented it in the film, I kind of find it funny.
Yeah, it was very childlike and basic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just like he sees the news report. He goes, "Hey," and you see them like kicking off, and then he turns up. They're like, "Michael, shit,
yeah, the Michael, yeah. Can we get a autograph? Yeah, I'll sign one for everyone."
And it's just like, you know what? How I'm going to solve it? I'm going to dance, and then he starts dancing, and everyone's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, that clearly didn't happen in that way, did it?
Yeah,
and also, like, you know, I know that he was a very, very good dancer. He clearly was, and he did a lot of stuff originally, and he came up with a lot of stuff. But he also had choreographers as well.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Like people that choreographed his stuff.
Like the moonwalk. That wasn't his signature move. It was the guy from Shalimar who did it the previous year on Top of the Pops.
Yeah, but even he got it from Street Guys. You know what I mean?
Like he got it from Street Guys, but it was made famous on Top of the Pops because he turned up on Top of the Pops. Have you seen the thing?
He kept repeating it. Yeah, I've just seen it. Yeah. But then, you know, like I said before, you know, pop culture is you take bits from all different things and you rehash it and it becomes your own. You know what I mean? And no one has seen it on that level. And also as well, Michael did do some original things. I mean, there was a thing that I've seen where because you know he liked a lot of Charlie Chaplin, and they showed it in there, saying a lot of Charlie Chaplin. So there's a scene where Charlie Chaplin, there's like a scene where Charlie Chaplin's got his hat and he's got the little suit and the socks. You know, like you can see this like the socks and all that stuff. And he's walking backwards, and then he's doing his little weird sort of shuffle with just one foot forwards, and then they match it with Michael doing this performance back in like 80s something or whatever. It's pretty much exact, but
I've seen that clip.
Michael, like, you know, obviously jazzed it up a bit.
Yeah.
So you can see where there's little influences that he took, and like the little kick and movement you got from Fred Astaire is like a little thing where he's spinning around and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a Fred Astaire move, you know what I mean? So he clearly was taking from the greats and trying to come up with something, and it became really original what he did. So no one else was doing that little kick thing.
Yeah, and
then grabbing the crotch, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they do show bits of his inspiration in the film as well, where he's watching films with Fred Astaire, and that's his whole point about the Thriller video. He's saying, you know, bring the camera back, make it a wide, because that's what Fred Astaire used to do. So you see the whole body. You can't see a close up. You need to see the whole body of him dancing. Yeah, and he was inspired by.
Fred Astaire. And he did that, you know. But obviously, you know, there were choreographers that were part of that to give it.
But they're making it out that he was solely responsible for all the moves and everything.
And it's only so if you're a choreographer, you know that you spend hours and hours
you'd be screwing
doing that, and you're excited to watch the film. Like, who's going to be paying me? And you get in there, wait a minute.
Just imagine, right? Yeah, just imagine you're a choreographer and you've got grandkids and maybe even great grandkids at this point. And you're like, yeah, you know what? Let's go watch Michael, because then apparently he's going to show how he did the Thriller move or Beat It. And then you're watching it and you're like, what?
That's not how it went. Yeah.
And then the kids are like, Granddad.
You said you're in it.
Yeah, you said
Granddad's talking shit.
Granddad's been talking shit all his life. It's like, no, that was me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Because I think I've seen a clip recently. I think he looks, it's funny, you know, getting old it's the thing, isn't it? But
it's the thing.
He looks like an old man. He looks like an old man, like an actual old man. But this choreographer, he helped him with Thriller.
Yeah.
And he does the whole dance with like a whole load of people. And he just looks like an old man doing the Thriller dance. You know what I mean? But actually he's still got the moves. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm obviously, oh yeah, of course he was young then. You know what I mean? But it's just like,
I bet it must be brewing.
looks like some 70-year-old dude, sort of like doing the whole shuffle and all that stuff. But he was good. He was
Yeah,
good.
but he must be brilliant after he's watched the film. It's like no acknowledgement or anything.
Yeah, no acknowledgement. No. I think that they could have done a bit better there.
Yeah.
Because Michael didn't do everything by himself, did he?
I think their state. I think it's their state that wants to, because like Michael Jackson even says in the film, he wants to create this image where he's only out when the album's out, and then after the album's done, he disappears in order to build on the myth. So it makes you wonder if he even fed some of these crackpot stories to the press to build on that myth.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did.
Because he talks about it. So I feel like their state wanted to do the same, rewrite the history, rewrite all the wrongs to build on that
but also
image.
add to the myth, though.
Yeah, add to the myth and everything like that about who he was and all that. And that's why they simplified it.
Because I'm still dubious, right? About like you're at home, right? And your oldest son or one of your sons comes home and says, "Yeah, I've got my pet's about to come and stay." Oh, what you got now? What is it? A hamster or a gerbil? What you got? And out drops some big ass monkey. Yeah,
the chimp.
Are you telling me that they just dropped off a monkey and said, "Well, yeah, there you go, you can have it now, and we'll leave you to it"? And the dad just looks at him and goes, Michael.
Yeah, exactly.
Just stuck in the house.
But
there is no way on this earth. Yeah,
but the way that they do it in the scene,
into my house. You know what I mean?
But the way that they do it in the scene is like Joe Jackson is like saying, "I'm not happy, but you're the cash cow. Fuck it, I'm just going to let you do it."
Yeah, I can't believe that. I mean, maybe it's true, but I can't believe. What, you got a live monkey that's running around the house and you guys are all just cool with it, then yeah, that's all right, is it? He's got a nappy on and everything. Like, what?
Exactly. And you're telling me that Michael Jackson looked after Bubbles himself?
I'm
he had handlers, innit? He had handlers.
Must have done. I mean, surely there must be rules against that type of stuff, innit? But then again, this is America. Mike Tyson had a tiger, didn't he?
But don't you think
he had a full-on tiger, didn't he?
But don't you think, like, like the Bubbles handlers are probably watching the film with their grandkids, thinking, yeah, you know what, they can show Bubbles and then I'm going to be in it.
Yeah, we spent hours around there.
Yeah, we've spent years with Michael Jackson. It's like, Granddad, you've been talking shit all your life. I thought you were like handling Bubbles.
Yeah, Granddad just talks shit, man.
Granddad just talks shit.
you weren't doing that with Michael.
You fucking liar.
It's just like crazy.
Are you even my granddad?
I tell you who I thought was really spot on, and because I've seen pictures, is the Bill
character. I think if anyone came out as like the MVP to a certain extent, I think it's Bill. The way they made him out was just this loving surrogate father to him.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was. Yeah,
just had his back.
It was a nice role. I thought it was a nice role that he played there, and I think. But also, like when you look at the pictures of the actual real person, it's just
uncanny.
It's uncanny, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
They found this dude is a really good actor as well, and I thought it was that scene right at the end when Michael has the guts to say it on stage with his brothers that this is the final gig, this is the last one. And he's backstage, and the dad's all angry, all looking monstrous and bulbous. You know what I mean? As they do, he's always like galloping towards him. What are you doing, Michael? And he steps in front and goes, "No, it's over, Joe." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like authoritative. Like, "No, I'm finally going to stand up to you now. Like, you leave it now." You know. And Joe had to just stay there in the background. You know, it was a classic sort of scene in terms of like the setup, but it's like, yeah, now he's got his mojo in it. He's free now. Yeah, and then the next shot is him about to go on stage to his own audience.
Yeah.
And Michael is now Michael, It's just like, it was a classic. It was a classic sort of shot, wasn't it? But they did it well. So like I said, the film overall, it hit a lot of good beats, mind the pun, but it worked. It worked, and it was a celebration of his music, and I thought it was all right, really. But like I say,
But do you think though? I think the fact that we gone back and we started looking at other aspects of his history and other aspects of his life means that it must have worked, because if we didn't like it, we would just said, shit, and then moved on. The fact that we've gone and we spent time listening to the music again, and we've been going down rabbit holes, watching stuff, watching his old gigs, And then, watching these comparisons of what he was like back in the day, and all these other little stories that could have been in the film, but they weren't. But it's kind of made us look into it. That has to mean that it's been a success.
I think so, yeah. And also as well, it's obviously it's a subject matter, isn't it? I think Michael was a lot more culturally significant to us growing up than say, what's that guy?
Prince.
Not Prince, no. What's that other biopic?
Freddie Mercury.
Elvis.
Oh, Elvis.
Elvis, or the other one. What's the one? Walk the Fire or Walk the Line?
Oh, fucking Johnny Cash.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, obviously, these guys were great
Apparently,
artists.
that's a good film. I haven't seen the Johnny Cash one. Apparently, that's really good.
But I'll probably watch it, but because his music isn't that impactful on me, I'm just rewatching a film about a musician. It's the same with that guy who did Alabamba or whatever.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Wait.
Yeah.
Watch Yourself. That's a good film.
I'm not cussing it.
It's a good film, man.
It's a good film.
Have you seen it?
I'm not cussing. Yeah. No, I've seen it. Yeah, I saw it on TV years ago. It's a good film. But I'm saying is his music. He did one song. Yeah, and his music wasn't that impactful to me. So
I mean, he did a few more songs and all that.
If you this is interesting. Now the guy who did that one song.
Yeah, I mean, he did a few more songs, but we only know him for that one song. And
So
the worst part is we only know him for that one song that was re-recorded by Los Lobos when the film came out. We don't even listen to the original version. We just listen to the 80s version, which I still do.
So like I say, I think because Michael's music was a lot more impactful, there's tune after tune after tune that we've listened to or liked or played or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing.
So there's more mystique and there's more interest. So I think it's like, oh yeah, okay. And because they did it well, it makes you want to go and especially what I did like as well is that they actually played some of the performances full,
Yeah.
So it's almost like I said, Spotify playlist, like this, here's the whole performance of Bad. Here's the whole performance of Human Nature. This is the Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and cutting in the video and stuff. So it makes you think, oh yeah, I want to watch it again. I want to, whilst them other films, they're probably more traditionally biopics in the sense that we're getting the more rounded, well, apart from Elvis, but like the Johnny Cash one, I think, and Ray was pretty good, but you get the more rounded character and all the flaws and all that. It's not about the music so much. Yes, the music is a big part of it, but it's about what was going on behind the music. You know what I mean? It's about the music to me, I think.
Yeah. I think, like, from a cynical point of view, this was about introducing new audiences to Michael Jackson and reconnecting the old audiences that left back to his music. That's what it was. And it's about buying music, buying his merchandise, buying into the myth again. And they achieved that because
and I think it's quite
crazy at the moment what's going on in the cinemas.
As critic, I've seen some really snotty critic stuff. And like I said, I've been critical and I will be. I'll stand by the Moonwalker being garbage. I'll stand by that all day long. You know what I mean?
You pretentious bastard.
Being the Black Christopher Nolan or whatever. But when it comes to actual tune after tune, there are some great tunes, and I think they captured that in this movie. They put those tunes forward, and they celebrated those tunes. So kudos to them for doing that. But like I said, yeah, it's never going to please everybody. Yes, if we had more meat on the bones, if we had more of the darker stuff, it wouldn't be a 12 rating or whatever it is, PG rating, and it wouldn't
12,
be.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the celebration that it needs to be. You know what I mean? So I think,
think what helped it was the fact that the script obviously was a paint by numbers script, but apparently the original script was darker and had more meat to it. But obviously, because of what had happened, they had to rewrite the third act. But then what pulls the whole thing together is the performances. I think everyone gave the best performance that they could do with the role that they had. And that shows, like, from the Nia Long playing the mum.
Yeah, Nia Long. Yeah, she's very, very good.
She's very warm in it. Obviously, Coleman Domingo, I thought he was really, really good. Even I was scared of him, intimidated by him. Jaafar Jackson was excellent in my eyes. And then even on a lesser role, I think the one that always gets to me is the fucking role that the amount of screen time that John Branca has. He was a lawyer.
Yeah,
they could have picked anyone else. Yeah, he was instrumental in MJ's success, but it's just like, really, it kind of feels cynical that the guy who's looking after the estate gives himself a big role,
big role in it.
That's
Yeah,
played by
yeah.
Miles Teller, and gives himself like, yeah, apparently Michael Jackson was his best man at his first wedding and stuff like that. But
All right. Yeah,
I'm a little bit suspect here. Yeah,
yeah. I wonder how significant he was in that
yeah.
that role, wasn't it? Yeah,
Because in
yeah.
real life, apparently Michael Jackson sacked him and then brought him back because he sacked him because he thought he was funneling money to an offshore account. So I don't know how much of a good guy he was, but it just reminded me of that, the Biggie biopic where Diddy is just a really fucking lovely guy.
Yeah, exactly. That turned out well, didn't it? I always wondered with them two, actually, if Biggie was still alive, what would that relationship be now? Now I reckon Biggie would be out cussing him now. I reckon they would have fallen out a long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago.
That's what I think anyway. I can't see Diddy being part of that, but he knows, man. People change, don't they? Money and success change people.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I think it was all right. It was good. I came away, I enjoyed it. I came away thinking, yeah, I want to go listen to some of his music, and I did listen to it on the way home, and a few songs I've been listening to and stuff. It's like, yeah, that's enjoyable, and I watch it again. And I think it was good to see it on a big screen because it felt like a film. It felt like a film. There were bits of it that just was cinematic. You know what I mean? It was a movie. It was a movie. So
when friends ask me what I thought of the film, I always tell them, go if you can, go to watch it at the cinema. And the reason is, I think part of the feeling that I know that both of us got from it was because of the sound and the scope of it, watching it on the big screen and just hearing all that sound, surround sound and everything. And there were parts where, like you said, the whole off the wall, the Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, that whole scene. For me, it was a pinnacle, like you. It was just brilliant the way they did it. But then also the Billie Jean bit and the bad bit as well. Because I was just thinking, they can play that. Is that it? Is that the third act? They're just going to play that track right at the end, and it kind of worked because it was a celebration. Because at that point, you see him come into his own, and that's him.
His own, yeah.
And it was brilliant. The moves and everything.
Interesting about that, just about a little bit geeky bit is that bad track when he's performing it. They made that as like the first song.
Yeah, it wasn't the first song.
Actually, yeah, it's almost like he was halfway through the gig when he performed that piece. You know what I mean? So it was interesting anyway. But it's just like why that song then? Why not the first song that he did? Because I think the first song he did was Human Nature, I think.
But then that doesn't have the big impact because the bad track is from the bad album for the bad tool.
That's like and it was also like a breakout track, wasn't it? In terms of style as well. But yeah, and what I also like is, well, just finishing up, is just about how they isolated his vocals as well.
Yeah.
So they would have got, I know some of it's Jaafar singing.
Yeah,
but
so they mixed both of them together, didn't they?
Yeah, but when he's in the studio and stuff like that, they isolate his vocals, so they've taken out the actual Michael Jackson vocal, and you think, wow, his tone was just pitch perfect.
Yeah.
He's just serious singer. So yeah, all in good. Like I said, I'm a bit nervous about a sequel. I think it can't be another celebration because the second act of his life wasn't a celebration. It's more dark. So is it going to be a courtroom drama? But he still has some bangers. He still remember the time is an amazing song.
Remember the time, but
bangers later on. What's that other song that he did? We had Naomi Campbell in the video.
Keep It in the Closet. In the Closet, or whatever it's called.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was called Keep It in the Closet.
Yeah, Keep It in the Closet. Yeah, great song. Yeah, great song.
And another one, Who Is It?
He was like 40 then. He was like 40 around that time, in his 40s. So he's still moving really well.
Yeah.
He was solid. Yeah. So and obviously, you got to do the Earth song, didn't you? That was probably like
and Heal the World, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not a better place now, but he tried.
Yeah, he did try. And this is the thing. So when I think what they're trying to do with the whole myth of it, so obviously they tried to explain some of his behaviors and his personality traits and everything like that with why he interacts with kids and all that. You see the reason why, and then why he interacts with animals only. You see the reason why, but then why he went for the Messiah complex, and he touches on that by saying after he burns his hair, which I saw you wincing, so it got
Yeah,
you.
that's horrific. That's horrific.
Because you
I
never
think I winced
see.
a couple of times. I winced when he was getting beat as a kid. I thought that was just horrible. I hated that. See the grown man beat and then lock him in the door and beat him. I thought it was just horrendous. And then when he's on fire.
Yeah, the fire bit.
When he's on fire. Yeah, when he's on fire, I thought, because like back in the day, way back in the day, for a very, very short period, I had a Jerry Cole. And you know, like, it's dangerous, you know. You can't be around naked flames. You can't be around naked flames. It's dangerous, man. It's dangerous. So yeah, it just took me back. It just took me back to that moment.
So glow.
You know?
So they explained the painkillers bit by having that scene with the Pepsi advert and the flames, his hair going on fire, and like him basically like hitting some nerves. So he's always going to be in pain for the rest of his life from that point onwards. So he has to have painkillers, and the strength has to get stronger because his tolerance gets higher and higher, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in a way that by having that scene, they explain or justify why he was taking painkillers in the beginning. But the whole Messiah complex is explained because he's saying that, you know, he feels he knows what his calling is now. And the calling is, after speaking to all these kids and connecting with all these kids, that he needs to bring the world together by being kinder to people. Everyone being kinder.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying that, wasn't he?
Yeah, kind of saying, yeah, that's what I need to. That's what I'm here to do. I've been given a second chance because I need to heal the world. Basically.
Heal the world. So that whole him setting his hair on fire is not his fault. The whole Pepsi advert fiasco, that was a turning point in his life, and that justified or explained a lot of his behavior and his actions post.
It did.
That bit where it's, you know, the Messiah complex, the painkillers.
They could have been they could have gone a bit more in the body dysmorphia stuff. They could have gone a bit more in the vitiligo stuff.
They kind of touch on that. There's bits where he's got his shirt off and all that, and you see patches on his chest, but they don't even touch on it, or on his elbow.
Yeah,
and the whole glove thing is explained because he's got the patches in his hands, so that's the only reason why he wears the one glove to cover that one hand.
Yeah, but
no.
So I mean, I don't know if a lot of these AI pics are now, so they're sort of reimagining it. But if he had vitiligo all over his face and his body, they should have shown that. They should have shown a scene where, away from the cameras, he's looking in the mirror and it's all over him. So he's putting this cream on to lighten himself so it all blends in. But you don't see that. You see a little bit on his arm, you see a little bit on his hand, and you don't really see, and then he's just constantly doing nose jobs, you know, and you kind of think, well, what are they saying here? You know, they just, it's almost like they don't even acknowledge it. They just show him what he's got in nose job. They
just justify or to connect the points with that bit. It's just like, yeah, he had nose jobs, and that's the reason why. And then we're going to move on from this bit.
Yeah, because you really want us to be sympathetic to the whole thing about his skin lightening, because it was a big thing, you know, because he completely changed, you know, physically. They should have, if it really was vitiligo, which, you know, supposedly he did have, was it all over his face? You know, was it?
Well, they have to touch on it right in the next one, because if he's getting whiter and whiter, it's because the vitiligo is getting worse, isn't it? So he has to.
Yeah. So maybe it's more for the second act. But
so from the Dangerous album onwards, that's when he became lighter and lighter, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you know, he was doing other stuff to his face as well, the eyes and the chin, and you know, the double dimple thing and all this sort of stuff. So it's just, and also, you know, the whole thing with his family, and you know, doctors just basically exploiting and saying, yeah, okay, we'll keep doing these procedures when you don't really need to, and actually there's something else going on with you here mentally, because you don't really need these procedures, but we're going to keep taking your money and all that stuff. So
this is why I was thinking, like, he had to have been on the spectrum. Because once he's fixated on something, he's fixated on it, and no one's ever going to question him or tell him to take a step back.
Yeah, he's interesting. But again, like, if they are going to make a sequel, I don't see how they make it into a celebration. It's going to have to be a court case drama.
Yeah.
And the downfall, or maybe they go down the conspiracy route or whatever, but it's going to have to be up to his death, surely. You know, it's going to have to be up to the moment he dies, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can't just be about the courtroom, so it's got to be probably the end of a great. So it's going to be quite a sad film. It's not going to be a celebration.
Yeah.
But I read somewhere someone said they should call it Jackson. So you got the first film, Michael.
Oh,
he's like,
that's
you know,
sick.
like Michael. You know what I mean? The last one was just Jackson, where he's like, I thought it was quite smart.
I just got really excited there when you said that. Ooh.
But anyway, man, I think it was all right. It was all right, and yeah, I'm glad that we touched on it. I'm glad that we watched it.
Yeah. But you know what we haven't discussed yet?
What's that?
You know.
Oh. Where does how would you put a Jason Statham into this? How would you put him into this movie? Oh, Bill. He could play Bill.
He could play Bill.
He could be Bill. Yeah, it could be Bill, and maybe
And you wouldn't call it Michael. You'd just call it the security guard.
Bill.
Bill. Fuck it being about Michael. It's about Bill, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be Bill. Yeah, and Bill just protects her. He's a protector, isn't he? It could be like a mixture of Michael and the actual bodyguard.
Yeah.
It could be like a remake of the bodyguard, but the Whitney Houston part is actually.
But the thing is, as well. But it was Jason Statham's Bill that taught Michael the moves.
Oh wow! You reckon?
Do you know what I mean?
It could be him
moves that he learned from the SAS or when he was in the army. And then Michael's like, "Yeah, Bill."
So the kick is like my famous kick, and
the kick is like
so Michael's probably the back of the car, and it was all kicking off, and there's some crazy fans trying to smash the door, and then Bill does the whole kick. You know what I mean? Moves around and does a spin, and Michael's like, Teach me, Bill. And he goes, teach you what? To fight? No, to dance.
That wasn't a dance. That was real life. That was survival.
Yeah. And then Michael picks it all up and starts incorporating it into his movies. It's a bit like that Forrest Gump thing, isn't it? Where Elvis has seen Forrest Gump doing that weird dance. He goes, hey, do that again. Oh, I might take that.
Exactly. So Bill, or Jason Statham's Bill, was more instrumental in Michael's life.
Yeah, it's like,
his fight moves ended up being dance moves.
Yeah, he was actually fighting. If you put somebody in front of him, he's beating them up. That's what he's doing.
And then when Jason Statham's Bill batters the guys, he just like, fuck off, beat it. And then Michael's like, yeah, beat it.
Yeah, beat it. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And then when they're sitting down and he's talking about life, it's like, yeah, Michael, it's just human nature, isn't it? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, throughout the film, he's just dropping subtitles. You're like, yeah, that's it. True. Yeah, that's it. Interesting. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. You know what it is, Michael? It doesn't matter if you're black or white. Yeah. I'll take that. Yeah.
It's a fucking thriller, isn't it?
Well, what we're going to watch today? I'm going to watch a thriller.
But you got to do your line. You got to do like, I'm Joe. Michael, where are you going?
Well,
you're Bill.
Well, we're going to go see a movie.
No. You know, at the end of where the victory tour, and then he says that he's going to leave, and then he's off the stage, and then Joe Jackson is like, and you're going to be Bill. Okay, so I was like, Michael, where are you going?
Stop. It's over. It's ended now. Yeah, that was it. And then up roll the credits. Yeah.
And it's just Bill walking into the distance.
Yeah,
and as it fades away, fuck Michael, it's about Bill.
Yeah.
Jason Statham's Bill.
No, he actually could pull that off, You could pull that off.
Yeah.
I can see him in a bucket hat.